largely been focused around my physical health. I fell ill with COVID in March of last year and have had organ damage since then. So I get really breathless just trying to walk around the house, can't walk the distance of a couple of supermarket aisles without being in pain and knocked for days afterwards. And there's also lots of issues around my heart. It gets really fast, it's tachycardic a lot of the time, which is quite uncomfortable and quite tiring. So as you can imagine, this has been quite a challenge for me to walk through with God. Before this, I was really active. I had a job in a hospital, supporting children, so I was constantly running up and down busy hospital wards. I walked as part of my commute, went to the gym, all of that kind of thing. And then essentially overnight just lost a huge part of my physical ability. And I'd say that I've definitely had to go through some grief with that. Like, I've sort of grieved the person I was and the abilities that I've lost, and kind of grieved the life I want to be able to lead. And that's something I've really had to kind of work through with God, and it's like a continuous process. A lot of emotions obviously come up, a lot of anger, frustration, anxiety, fear, all kind of normal feelings that you'd feel in this kind of situation that I'm just sort of still trying to work through with God. A lot of practical issues come from all of this. So for example, I'm losing a career that I love very shortly, and I don't know what job I'll be able to do next, how will I earn money, and with that I feel like God's really just teaching me to take it a day at a time. I think my nature has always been to plan ahead, and I feel like with this, God is literally just saying, like, day at a time. Like, your contract comes to an end in March and it's only February, so focus on February, because the situation does seem to be sort of ever changing. There's lots of issues around isolation. Obviously COVID restrictions are tough for everyone, but also I can't meet one person outside for exercise, and even when we could meet up with people, I'd have to really sort of think through my plans, make sure there was very little walking involved, and any plans I did have would kind of knock me for days afterwards. And I'm really fortunate in a lot of this. Like, God's given me a really amazing group of people around me at the moment who have kind of been so adaptive in kind of trying to help me feel less isolated. God's definitely introduced me to more virtual communications. Like, I was never a fan of kind of FaceTiming people and stuff before, whereas now I feel like that's been a really good way for me to kind of keep connected. Also, I feel like he's introduced me to a range of new hobbies to kind of occupy my time. Before, I sort of had to try and be busy all the time. That was like my natural kind of forte. I'd feel like I'd wasted a day if I wasn't really, really busy. And in this time, I think God's really teaching me to just relax in the moment. Like, I'm doing jigsaws and crocheting, things before that like I'd only squeeze in right at the end of a day. In terms of like the future, it's still very unknown. Like, I'm still bouncing through the questions of, will there be healing? Why hasn't there been healing? When will there be healing? And I think that's all normal things to kind of question and think of. And this is still a journey that I'm going through with God. Like, this isn't a testimony where I'm saying this is what happened and this is what I learned and this is why it was good in the long run. I'm still working through this and trying to find the good in it all, and trying to sort of understand what God's teaching me. So I don't have the answers to a lot of these things at the moment, but I do feel like God is telling me just to keep leaning in on him, and that he is walking through this with me.